Hello and welcome to another edition of Politics is Life. My name is Yetunde Makinde. Today on the program, I'm going across the Atlantic because what I do here normally is discuss solutions to the socio-economic and socio-political challenges that confront us in Nigeria. But today I'm going to take a flight across the Atlantic to Europe to discuss multiculturalism and Europeans. Over the last few years, we've constantly heard about, over the news, how Europeans in Europe and in North America, those who currently occupy those two regions, Canada and the United States, are originally European. So when I use the label Europeans, it covers them as well. It covers Canadians and US citizens or United States. It covers Canada and United States. So multiculturalism and Europeans. Europeans are getting, they're beginning to experience the effect of a multicultural society, and they don't like it. They're getting a dose of something equal to what was created on the African continent by their ancestors, and they don't like it one bit. They're complaining, and rightfully so, because with mass immigration, which ends up as multiculturalism, that's a situation where you have people of diverse ethnicity and diverse culture live within the same space. It becomes more problematic as it is in Europe now, when these diverse people from these diverse cultures, or people who come from these places with cultures that are incompatible with yours, it does create a problem. It creates a conflict, which is what we're seeing in Europe, and Europeans are complaining bitterly about it. But why are they complaining, really, which is what this content is about? Why are they complaining about it? Why are they complaining about multiculturalism? Even though I sympathize with them, I really do, because multiculturalism can be fun, because that's what we in Africa have had to live with for centuries now, for over 200 years, since those arbitrary borders were drawn in Berlin in 1884, if I'm not mistaken. Since it was drawn in Berlin by often men who had never set foot on the African continent, who just sat in Berlin and were drawing arbitrary lines, arbitrary borders across Africa, thereby creating a situation where people who have no shared history, who have no shared custom, who do not speak the same language, are forcibly put together as one country, as one nation, to live together. How can there be progress in such a society as we have in Nigeria? We're constantly at loggerheads with ourselves. How can there be development if people are constantly striving and are constantly conflict? There's constant conflict and there's constant strife. How can there be progress? There are 250 ethnic groups in Nigeria. When the Northern and the Southern Protectorate were amalgamated in 1914, none of our ancestors who lived at the time were consulted. Europeans just did as they liked, forcing people who have no shared history to live together. And exactly the same thing is happening in Europe now, except that this situation in Europe, the multiculturalism in Europe, has been created inadvertently by the ruling elite, unlike in Africa, where no African was involved in these artificial arbitrary borders that were drawn. To explain what I mean by arbitrary borders drawn in Africa, a classic example which I even discussed in my book is the situation of the people of Popo, the Ajashe people of Popo, who one day, they all lived as one unit in the community in Popo, as kith and kin, all went to bed one day, and they woke up the following morning and one side had become, some of them were now citizens of the then Dahomey, now Republic of Benin, and the other side were now citizens of the Southern Protectorate of Nigeria, tearing apart people who should all live together and be able to develop and progress together. You've torn them apart. You've created a situation where they now have to live in a country with, share a country, share a community, share a land with people they have absolutely nothing in common with. That's multiculturalism. Multi-ethnic, multicultural societies that we have across Africa are multiculturalism, and he explains besides things like corruption, colonialism, and weak and ineffective leadership. These arbitrary borders also create problems, because people now have to share borders with those who are constantly, who they constantly have to fight off. Things that would have never been there if those artificial borders were never created. So the long and short of what I'm saying is, Africans have had to live with multiculturalism for so long, for over 200 years. And modern day Europeans are now getting a dose of the medicine similar to the ones that ancestors created in Africa, and they don't like it. They don't like it one bit. The same Africans who constantly berate us, the same Europeans who constantly berate Africans as not being good at organizing anything, utterly useless at organization, we can't build anything, we're poor at organization, we're poor at execution, we can't build anything, we can't build societies. The same set of Europeans who say all these things about us now see how difficult it is to live with people who are nothing like you. Before I close this out, I'd like to say this. I often find, or I've seen a few sub-Saharan Africans, as I like to describe us, who sometimes want to argue against the pushback of multiculturalism. I don't think we should do that. You know why? Because when we leave our shores to go fight as economic migrants into these other places, we respect our host community, we respect the local community, we respect the local customs, we integrate easily, and then just get down to the business of etching a living, which is why we left home in the first place. So I don't think we should join in that party. I understand the fears like, if they begin to push back, it would affect us. But the truth is, these societies actually need economic migrants, which is what we have. What they don't want is those who come and mush on the people who just want to take out of them without giving anything back. People who just mooch and take, who go there without any intention to integrate or contribute to the society. We integrate fine. Sub-Saharan Africans integrate easily. We're beneficial to those societies. Alright? So I don't think we should join the wagon I don't think we should join that bandwagon of those who want to argue that multiculturalism is great. It isn't. We don't enjoy it here on the African continent. Why would you think it's cool elsewhere? But of course, Europeans should enjoy it while it lasts until they can find a solution to it. That's all I've come to say today, and this is going to be a long one. I'm going to be discussing quite a number of issues, many things, but I'll do each one and then break it off. So for this one, I'm breaking it off, and I'll see you in the next video. I don't know what I'll discuss, but I'm sure it's something that would interest a good number of people. Okay, I think I remember what I want to discuss. This is multiculturalism, right? I want to discuss desertification. So I'll see you in the next video. Until then, Ire.